Welcome back to Hard Truths with Hardy. It's a podcast where you can't get rid of me. I'm back again. So we're into springtime, and I think it's important to start talking about spring house hunting because it's the single most important time of the year for people looking to buy new homes. It's definitely the busiest. And what we find a lot of times is people want to come in slow or they want to be picky, and you can't be both if you want to succeed in the spring market. Before we get into this week's topic, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in my life. It's actually extremely busy right now. I'm getting in several new buyers that are moving in from out of state. I've got a couple new listings coming up, and the builder that I work with in Sevier County, we have some new contemporary construction homes that we're getting ready to start marketing next week. Super excited about those. There's not a lot that you see that look like his homes in that price range. But aside from that, what's going on with me? I've been sick over the last week, so I've been a little bit slower than I like to be, and I'm real fortunate to have a team that's willing to help out when I'm at home and can't get out and take all my normal appointments. But I'm back at work. Even though I sound a little bit like a dude, I hate it. But, the show's got to go on. We've got to keep taping podcasts. We've got to keep taking care of clients. So here I am. One high and one low for my week. I had some wonderful sellers that I've been working with back in November. We decided it wasn't the best time to put their house on the market. They weren't in a rush to sell. They weren't hard up for money. So I suggested they take their home off the market and let's put it back up in March. Well, we did. We got it under contract quickly. We got it closed. And that's the benefit of listening to your realtor. Sometimes it's hard to get clients to listen and to really take in that what we're telling them is for their own good and that we're trying to look out for their best interests. So when you get somebody that trusts you and will listen and take that advice wholeheartedly, it really feels good. My low is just not being able to take care of people the way I normally do, but I'm excited to be back at work and at it. So let's jump into the spring market and talk about that. I'm definitely starting to get more phone calls where people are looking to get moved while their kids are out of school. That's always very important for people that have children. Nobody wants to move their kids during the school year when they'll have to change school systems. It's time to make a plan and get going if you're looking to get into a home this summer while the kids are out of school. Don't just plan on waiting to see what happens. That's not a good plan. In fact, it's not a plan whatsoever. So there's a lot of different buyers we see in this market. You've got the wait and see buyer. I'm just going to wait and see what happens with the market. As you know, I'm not a believer in that. The market is always going to be changing. Your situation may not be good and you may need to find a different home that fits your family or your situation. That's where I come in, helping you strategize how to make that work for you. I'll give you an example. I've got a couple right now that's getting married. They're looking to combine into one home. The home they want to sell is in a subdivision that is severely affected by construction. And so we've been talking about whether it's the right time to sell now or if they want to leave the home empty and wait 6 more months. That's not a good strategy because guess what? You're still making payments on that home. So what my job is to do is to strategize around the market and find the best scenario for you. All right, with spring, you've got to get your plan together and make it happen. I'll give you a great example. This weekend, I showed to a young couple, and they really aren't moving too fast about doing anything, but they're in a price range that there's not a ton of homes in our local market that fit their needs. So they sent me a couple houses, asked me to research those. I got right on it. I got back to them within probably 30 minutes. One of the listings went pending in that amount of time. That quick. Because it's in the $200,000 to $300,000 price range. So I'll let them know, hey, this one's already gone pending. It really doesn't make sense to see it. It's no longer available for purchase. And they were devastated. They couldn't believe it. And they asked me if that was normal. I explained in this price range, it is pretty normal when a home is in good shape, in a good location, that they move quickly. You can't be picky and slow at the same time. Part of your plan has to be if you're in a desirable price range and you want to live in a desirable location, then you've got to move quickly to see the houses that you like when they go on the market. If you're spending $1 million, that house probably isn't going to move as fast. But most of us don't have $1 million to spend on a home. You've also got multiple offers. While those aren't as prevalent as they used to be, you still see them. I'll give you another good example. A friend of mine listed a home. We thought, it would probably sell at full price, but we didn't know if it would get multiple offers. Within the day, it went into multiple offers. She sent out a multiple offer notification. The home went under contract for a little bit over list price. And that does still happen. If the home's in a good location, it's in good shape, it's move-in ready and doesn't need a lot of work, you'll still see it, especially if it's in the $200,000 to $400,000 price range. Now, once you get out of the area that's as desirable, and for our area, it's Knox County, if you're willing to drive outside the city 30 or 45 minutes, then you don't have to compete as much. But you do have to make a plan so that you're ready. Your realtor is your best resource in this situation. They can tell you if the area you're looking for is extremely desirable. They can let you know if there's not a lot of availability in the price range that you're in. And also the type of loan that you're getting makes a difference. For example, if you're looking for a house that qualifies for VA financing and your budget is only $250,000, there's not going to be a lot of inventory that meets your needs. So you're going to have to move quickly when those homes hit the market. I've had people ask me, can we make a lowball offer anonymously? Now let's stop and think about that. Does that make sense? If you're ashamed of your offer, how do you think the seller's going to take that? They're probably not going to take kindly to it either. What I see in this kind of situation is that typically the seller gets offended and then they shut down. They don't respond at all. They don't want to be bothered with you because they think you're not taking it seriously and you've offended them. That's not a good strategy. A good strategy is to have your agent call and speak with the seller's agent, find out what they're looking for, because price may not be all that matters to them. It may be that they need a longer closing date. Maybe their next house isn't ready, and so they need a little more time in their current home, or vice versa. Maybe they're moving out of town for a job offer and need to be gone quickly. These are things that you can use when you're making your plan to get into a house quicker and at a better deal. The hard truth is, you can't be slow and you can't be picky, just like the title of our podcast today. You still need to be smart, you still need to strategize, but you have to be decisive and you have to have a plan. And a big part of that plan needs to be wants versus needs. There's a lot of things I want. I've always wanted an in-ground pool, but I'm 51 and I still don't have one because it's a want and not a need. But a need for me would be, I don't want a home with a second floor. So that is something I won't give on, but I would give on an in-ground pool. And that's how you have to look at it when you're setting up your plan to look for a home. What are the things that I absolutely can't live without and that me or my family must have versus I would really like to have it, but it's not a deal breaker for me. Getting a pre-approval is extremely important. It not only helps your agent know what your budget is and where you're comfortable spending, but it also helps them know the type of financing. It's important to note that not every home qualifies for all types of financing. Each different kind of financing has a certain set of conditions that the home must meet. For example, peeling paint can be an issue for FHA. Safety issues can be a problem for VA loans. So it's important that we know what type of financing you're looking for, because a home that's a fixer-upper and only eligible for a cash or conventional loan will not qualify for VA financing. So it's very important that we know what you're going with as far as how you'll pay for the home. Be ready to move fast. And if I can give you one piece of advice above everything else, listen to your agent. So many people want to say, oh, agents, they're just out for the dollar. Well, let's be realistic about that. There's nothing about helping a client that benefits me if it doesn't benefit you. I'm trying to get you into a house or get your house sold. So looking out for your best interest is what benefits me. I don't make a dime until we get your house sold or until you buy a home. Looking out for your best interest is my number one goal. And I think it's the goal for most agents. I can't imagine that too many set out to do anything else. So you have to look past that stigma and make sure that you're choosing smartly, choosing somebody that will look out your best interest, just like me. So it's important in this market that you be ready to move fast and trust your agent. Choose someone you can trust. A lot of times you can talk with friends or family members, maybe even coworkers, and they can give you a suggestion on an agent. And if not, check out social media. That's a great place to learn about people that you may not know if you don't have a referral otherwise. So the hard truth is, be ready to move fast and trust your agent. That's the most important thing. There's nothing I'm doing for my clients that would make sense for me to not look out for their best interest. Your interests are my interests. All right, let's wrap up this episode with our little weekly Q&A. We've got a few questions. Our first one is, have you ever pretended to like a house? Now, honestly, if you know me, you know that answer is a no. I'm not a pretender. I don't do well at hiding things right here. I pretty much show my cards all the time. But I will say that one thing I've learned is my taste is not everybody's taste, right? Like, I'm not usually a super modern person, like clean lines, I'm learning to like that more. You know, our tastes are always evolving, so I'm learning to like things that I didn't used to like. But I do have to remind myself sometimes that just because it's what I like, it doesn't mean what you'll like, and that's okay. Another one, what's the weirdest thing that you've ever seen during an inspection? Things that you wouldn't expect. One that comes up more often than I would like to admit is bathroom sewer pipes that are draining into the crawl space. I mean, does it get any grosser than that? It is just exactly like what it sounds. You've got sewage, for lack of better terms, laying in the crawl space, and people don't know that they're living like that, and they're breathing it. I'm always shocked when that comes back on a home inspection, but I've seen it more times than I could count on one hand. Another one that always surprises me is older homes where the foundation is just stacked up on rocks. I don't mean boulders, I just mean rocks. That's not safe, folks. So you'll see a lot of different things in older homes that you wouldn't see these days that would not be considered safe. Thanks for joining us today. I appreciate that you came back because, like I said, you can't get rid of me. I'm here to stay. You can always listen to us on your preferred platform, and we can't wait to see you next week. Don't forget, I'm here to help you find your way home.